Hello, my name is Curtis A. Routley, and I'd like to take this time to thank you for joining me in the Running Prophecy channel, where I'm presenting teachings from my book, Running Prophecy. This is lesson number 15, the Alpha to Omega Biblical Timeline, Part 1. Today I'm presenting two charts of Bible prophecy, timeline, in the Bible. And I'm going to make it perfectly clear so that you will be able to understand and follow what I'm doing. And I'll give you the scriptures for them along the points of the time when we'll be discussing what they say. Without further ado, let me set up the map for the charts and we'll begin. This is the genealogy in Genesis chapter 5, verses 1 through 32. And it reads just like the scriptures are speaking about it. Adam was 130 years old when he gave birth to Seth. Adam lived another 800 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of Adam's life were 930. Seth lived 105 years and gave birth to Enosh. Seth lived another 807 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of his life were 912, and he died in the year 1042. Enosh lived 90 years, and he gave birth to Kenan. And Enosh lived another 815 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of Enosh's life were 905. And he died in the year 1140 after the flood. Kenan lived to be 70 years old and gave birth to and begat Mahalalel. Kenan lived another 840 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of his life were 910. And he died in the year 1235 after the flood. Mahalalel lived 65 years and gave birth to Jared. Mahalalel lived another 830 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of Mahalalel's life were 895 years, and he died in the year 1290 after creation. Jared lived 162 years and begat Enoch. Jared begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of his life were 800 years. Additional, and 800 and 162 is 962 years. So Jared died in the year 1432 after creation. Enoch lived 65 years and gave birth to Methuselah. Enoch lived another 300 years, begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of his life were 365. And Enoch was not, for he walked with God, and God took him. And Enoch departed in the year 987 after creation. Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. Methuselah lived another 782 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of his life were 969. Methuselah died in the year 1656, the year of the flood. Methuselah's name means he dies and it will come, or it will be sent, meaning the wrath of God. Lamech lived 182 years, gave birth to Noah. Lamech lived another 595 years and begat other sons and daughters, and the total years of his life were 777, and he died in the year 1651. Noah lived 500 years and begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These are the first recorded triplets of the scripture. And Noah lived another 100 years, and the flood came when Noah was 600 years old. And Shem, Ham, and Japheth were 98 years old in the year of the flood, and the year of the flood was in the year 1656, 1,656 years after creation. So this is the first genealogy. Then we come to the second one, the antediluvian genealogical step chart. The first one went from Adam to the Ark of the Flood. This one goes from the Ark of the Flood to the Ark of the Covenant entering the temple that King Solomon built. Noah lived 350 years after the flood. The total years of Noah's life were 950 years. Shem lived 2 years after the flood and gave birth to Arphaxad. Shem lived another 500 years, and the total years of Shem's life were 600, and he died in the year 502 after the flood. Arphaxad lived 35 years and gave birth to Shelah. Arphaxad lived another 403 years, so the total years of his life were 438 years. Shelah lived 30 years and gave birth to Eber. Shelah lived another 403 years, so the total years of his life were 433 years. Eber lived 34 years and gave birth to Peleg. Eber lived another 430 years, so the total years of his life were 464. Peleg lived 30 years and gave birth to Ru. Peleg lived another 209 years, so the total years of his life were 239 years. Ru lived 32 years and gave birth to Serug. Ru lived another 207 years, so the total years of Ru's life were 239 years. Serug lived 30 years and gave birth to Nahor. Sarah lived another 200 years, and the total years of his life were 230. Nahor lived 29 years and gave birth to Terah. He lived another 119 years, so the total years of Nahor's life were 148. Terah lived to be 70 and gave birth to Abram. Terah then lived another 135 years, so the total years of his life were 205 years. Abram lived 100 years and gave birth to Isaac. In 99th year of Abram's life was the year of Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction, 1 year before Isaac was born. That was 391 years after the flood. Abram lived 100 years, gave birth to Isaac, lived another 75 years. The total years of Abraham's life were 175 years. Isaac lived 60 years and gave birth to Jacob. Isaac lived another 120 years, and the total years of his life were 180 years. Jacob lived for 130 years, and he met the Pharaoh. The Bible does not give you Jacob's age when he begat his first sons or any of his sons. The only thing we're taught about Jacob is he met the Pharaoh at 130 years of age, lived another 17 years in Egypt, so the total years of Jacob's life were 147. So Jacob met the Pharaoh 582 years after the flood. This was when the 400 years of servitude began for Israel. 400 years later, the servitude ended with the Exodus in the year of 982 after the flood. 480 years after the Exodus, work was begun on the temple by King Solomon. That makes the year 1462. And in the year 1471, the Ark of the Covenant entered in to the temple that King Solomon built, and the glory cloud filled the house of the Lord and prevented the priests from ministering. So we have up to the point of the glory cloud, we have 1,656 years from creation to the flood. We have 1,471 years from the flood until the Ark of the Covenant entering the temple and the glory cloud filling the house of the Lord. So at this point in time, 3,127 years of time has passed. And the glory cloud filled the temple and prevented the priests from ministering. It's recorded in 1 Kings chapter 8 verses 10 and 11 and in 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verses 1 and 2. I hope you've enjoyed looking at the biblical timeline. We don't have time to do the third chart today, so the next lesson will encompass the final timeline of the Bible from the 956 BC, time of the glory cloud entering the temple and filling the house of the Lord so that the priest could not minister. It is the starting point of the next biblical timeline, and we will go through it from that point on in the next chart. God bless you.